Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Look, the Jeff McNeil era in New York is over. The Mets just shipped him to Oakland for a 17-year-old kid from Cuba who played in the Dominican Summer League last year. And get this, the Mets are paying almost $6 million to make this happen. Plus, they'll cover the $2 million buyout if his option doesn't get picked up next year. This is the definition of a salary dump. This is the Mets telling everyone they were done with Jeff McNeil by any means necessary, and Oakland was apparently the only team willing to take him. When this news broke, I had to sit back and think about what this really means. The Mets have been trying to move McNeil all offseason. Everyone in the organization, everyone watching this team knew it was coming. With Marcus Semien now at second base and Jorge Polanco coming in to play first, and DH, there just wasn't a spot for Jeff anymore. The writing was on the wall the second they made that Semien trade. Maybe 5% chance McNeil was on the opening day roster after that move went down. Let's talk about what the Mets are getting back, because honestly, there's not much to discuss. Yordan Rodriguez is 17 years old. He was born in 2008, the same year Brandon Nimmo got drafted by the Mets, maybe a year before that. This kid throws low 90s right now with a decent changeup and curve. He got a $400,000 signing bonus in the last international free agent class. Baseball America had him in their top 20 pitching prospects from that class. The best case scenario here is we don't see this kid in the majors for 6 years, maybe 2030 if everything goes perfectly. He can't even buy cigarettes yet. You have to be 18 to do that. But here's the thing. This trade was never about the return. This was about changing the culture, getting rid of the old guard, moving on from everything connected to the Steve Cohen early era and the Billy Epler regime. McNeil was one of the last guys standing from that time. Now, David Peterson is literally the only player left on the active roster with any real connection to the Wilpon-owned Mets, and there's a very good chance Peterson won't even be here on opening day either. Jeff McNeil has been a fascinating case study in peaks and valleys. When he won the batting title in 2022, everyone loved this guy. He was playing center field last year. Think about that for a second. Over his Mets career, he put up almost an 800 OPS. This was objectively a good hitter and a good player for a long time. But there were issues. The relationship with Francisco Lindor was clearly strained. We remember the rat versus raccoon incident. We heard about them getting into it after that Phillies game. When you have a guy like Lindor who's loose and positive, trying to keep the clubhouse energy up, and then you have McNeil smashing his helmet every time he lines out to second base for the second time in a game, that probably gets old over 162 games, especially when the team isn't winning. Buck Showalter actually told us something interesting after that 2022 batting title season. He was worried about how Jeff would prepare without the shift, that McNeil had really relied on it. Yeah, the Mets made us cut that from our podcast. They didn't want that out there. But then when we talked to Jeff, he told us he likes pulling the ball. That's when he's at his best. The irony is the best baseball McNeil played in the last few years was the second half of 2024, and then he got hurt with that thoracic outlet surgery and couldn't be part of that playoff run. For Oakland, this is actually a pretty smart move. They get a veteran second baseman who can still hit, and they're paying him less than $10 million a year because the Mets are kicking in so much money. Bench veterans don't even make that much. For a team that wanted a second baseman but didn't want to pay market rate for one, this is perfect. McNeil's going to go out there and probably put up a near 800 OPS, maybe hit 20 home runs, and be a solid contributor for them. Now let's talk about what this means for the Mets roster construction going forward. Right now you can count the guaranteed position players on one hand: Lindor, Semien, Soto, Polanco, Body, Alvarez. That's 6 guys. 6. The bench right now would be Ronnie Mauricio, Luis Angel Acuna, and Jared Young. Mark Vientos doesn't even have a guaranteed spot yet, though he should. There are so many holes to fill on this roster, it's actually kind of wild. Finding someone to replace what McNeil brought is going to be tough. You need a guy who can play multiple infield positions, slide out to the outfield in a pinch, and give you league average or slightly above league average hitting. That's not an easy profile to find on the open market or via trade. Unless Luis Angel Acuna takes a huge step forward or they want to give Jet Williams a real shot, I don't think there's an external player that fills that exact role. Maybe someone like Ketel Marte, if those trade rumors Francis Romero mentioned are real, but that feels like a pipe dream right now. The reality is this Mets team still has about half a roster to fill before opening day. Let's count through who's actually locked in. Lindor, Semien, Soto, Polanco, Batty, Alvarez hitting. Then you have Minaya, Holmes, probably 2 from the Peterson, McGill, Senga group. That's 10 guys. Edwin Díaz will start the year on the IL, so that's 11. Then you have Devin Williams, Luke Weaver, Adam Ottavino, maybe Huáscar Brizaband, though he has options. We're at maybe 15 players who we know will be on the opening day roster. That means there are 10 roster spots that are completely up for grabs right now. Here's what's crazy about all this. Everyone wants to talk about pitching, no ace, the rotation stinks, blah, blah, blah. And yes, pitching let them down at the end of last year. But when I look at this roster right now in late December, the offense is by far the bigger concern. The lineup has massive holes. They need outfielders badly. There's no center fielder. Left field is wide open. Right field is wide open unless you're counting on Tyrone Taylor to be an everyday player, which would be a mistake. Steve Cohen came out the other day going on about how people talking about payroll don't really know what they're talking about, which seems like an indication that the Mets are going to spend more money. The payroll should be north of $325 million, one of the highest in baseball. They have room to add. They just freed up some money by shipping out McNeil. Something has to be coming. Some big move has to happen because you can't go into the season with this many question marks. Cody Senga feels like another guy who might get moved. If they can do a need-for-need trade with him to get a major league outfielder back instead of a teenager who won't help for 6 years, that would make sense. Maybe Senga for someone like Ramon Laureano, though that's just speculation. The point is, David Stearns isn't done. Not even close. There's also the question of what position Polanco even plays. In his press conference today, he said the Mets told him the plan was first base and DH with third base as an auxiliary position. So it doesn't sound like he's playing second base much at all. That probably means if Semien needs a day off, Brett Beatty goes to second and Polanco slides to third, or they keep the door open for another second base option. Maybe Jeff Williams gets a real shot. Maybe they make another move. Who knows at this point? What's clear is that this is a complete teardown and rebuild of the roster identity. Every single player from the Billy Epler era of extensions is now gone. Edwin Díaz, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, all moved on from in different ways. This is David Stearns putting his stamp on the organization, for better or worse. The 4 longest tenured Mets all gone in the span of a month, whether through free agency or trade. The overwhelming reaction from Mets fans online has been celebration. People are thrilled McNeil is gone, but it's worth remembering the good times too, not just the frustrating moments. This was a guy who won a batting title, who played his heart out even when things weren't going well, who battled through injuries and position changes to help this team. The fact that his Mets career is ending with them paying another team to take him is honestly kind of sad, even if it makes sense from a roster construction standpoint. For Oakland, they get a chance to see if a change of scenery helps McNeil bounce back. For the Mets, they get payroll flexibility and a lottery ticket prospect who might turn into something in 2030 or beyond. It's the end of an era, another piece of the old regime swept away. And with spring training just over a month away, the real work of building a contender is still ahead. This roster is going to look completely different on opening day than it does right now. Buckle up, because this offseason is far from over.